Hello friends, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing my May wrap-up and June TBR. I'm going to combine these into one video this month because I don't have a lot of time to film two videos right now at the moment because I'm filming a video that you will see next after this video that has taken me a lot of time to film, and you'll see why when I post that one. That one should also be up by the end of the weekend after this one, but yeah, I just haven't had a lot of time to film more videos because of that video, but I wanted to sit down and film my May wrap-up in June TBR because it's officially June. It is June 1st when I'm filming this, and I'm probably going to try and edit and upload this the same day. At the end and beginning of every month, I love seeing everybody's wrap-ups and everybody's TBR, so I just really want to get this video out there so you guys know what I read in May and what I plan to read in June. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I have to say about that. Also, just wanted to put a disclaimer. I have ADHD, so a lot of times I will kind of go off track with what I was supposed to be reading. So it's fun for me to do these TBRs and kind of predict what I'm gonna read. But a lot of times I will stray away from my TBR and read whatever I'm in the mood for because I'm very much a mood reader, and I also can't focus on something that I'm not interested in, and that's the ADHD in me. So if I'm reading a book and it's really just like I'm not in the mood for it, I can't focus on it. I did stray from my May TBR towards the end, and I just wanted to say, like, don't be mad at me. I will get to those books eventually when I'm in the mood for them. I just wanted to put that out there that like a lot of times I will probably stray from my TBR and read some things that I didn't even have on it, just based on what my mood is and what I'm feeling up to reading. Anyways, without further ado, let's go over all the books that I read in May. The first book that I read in May was Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and I gave this book a 4 stars, I believe. You guys know I love Emily Henry. I think that she is probably one of the best, if not the best, romance writers of our generation. So I just love that she is able to write about characters in such an in-depth way. I feel like her characters have a lot of personality and also have a lot of backstory, which a lot of other romance books sometimes lack. I feel like a lot of times it's all about the romance and there's no real individuality to the characters, whereas Emily Henry, her characters all have individual stories, individual motives, individual backgrounds, traumas, things like that. So I really appreciate the way that she's able to explain why her characters are the way they are, why they behave the way they do, and things like that. That being said, this is probably my least favorite Emily Henry book, and I still gave it a 4 stars, so that is saying something. It is still really good, and I still read it really quickly and really enjoyed it, but I just feel like this one personally was not my favorite. I feel like I wasn't really invested in the main character as much. I did find the sister in this book to be a little bit annoying, and the whole conflict of this book I found to be kind of underwhelming and kind of frustrating because I just felt like it shouldn't really be that big of a deal. That being said, I understand why this was the conflict because I know what the relationship was supposed to be. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm trying not to spoil anything, but I understand why that was the conflict. But for me personally, I didn't really think that that was like a good enough conflict to warrant all of the like build up to it. So I don't know. I was getting really frustrated with this book at certain points, but I still really enjoyed it, and I loved the main love interest in this book. I thought he was really sweet, and I really like the small town setting of the majority of this book. So I really liked the feel of this. This is a really good summer read. I feel like I would read this on the beach if I ever went to the beach. But yeah, 4 stars. I really still enjoyed this book. It wasn't bad. It wasn't the best book I've ever read, but I can appreciate that the writing in here was really good. The character depth, really good. And yeah, 4 stars. I'm not sure if I'm going in order here. I don't really remember what order I read these books in, but I'm gonna kind of guesstimate what I read them in. I don't really remember which one I read first, but I know that I read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I read that on my Kindle and I gave that a 5 stars. Obviously, it really just brought me back to my childhood and made me feel like I was a child again. It was amazing. I always forget how much more detail there is in the books in Harry Potter that I've missed out on because my deepest darkest secret is that I've never read the entire Harry Potter series all the way through, and I think I've read up to either the third or fourth book. I can't remember specifically, but I think it might have been the fourth book. I don't know if I finished the fourth book, but I know that the fourth book is when, like, Goblet of Fire is when it starts getting to be like real thick books, and I was reading these in middle school, so I was like, hell no, like that's too many pages, too much reading for me. But I'm finally gonna read them all the way through. I finished the first one in May, and I'm gonna get to the second one in June. But yeah, you guys know what that book is about. I feel like I don't really need to explain it. But yeah, 5 stars on Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Next, I read My Policeman by Bethan Roberts. I really enjoyed this book, but it wasn't, I think I was a little underwhelmed. I think I was a little disappointed in this book because I felt like I did not like the policeman at all. I feel like a lot of the characters I was getting really frustrated with, and I felt like this book was just really sad because the choices that they made were just really heartbreaking, and it's hard for me to read about things like betrayal, cheating. It's also hard to like read about situations where people were literally like not able to be themselves openly. So I gave this book a 3.5 stars. I felt like I really enjoyed 2 of the characters, and I liked their morally gray, you know, aspects of their personality. But the policeman that they were both like in love with, I did not like him at all. I did not respect him. I did not think that he made good decisions, and I therefore just was angry a lot when I was reading this book. And all I have to say about this book is that Patrick deserved better, and I'm on Team Patrick. So that's all I have to say about this book. I was mistaken when I brought this up in my May TBR. I thought that this movie hadn't come out yet, but I think it came out like a year ago. So I'm gonna try and watch that at some point this summer and see if it's any good, because it does have Harry Styles in it, and I love Harry Styles. So yeah, it was good, not great, but not bad. So 3.5 stars for me. Okay, next I read Spare by Prince Harry. I actually started this book back in January, but I never finished it because I got really busy with school and I kind of forgot about it. But then I was looking for something different to pick up. I wasn't in the mood for fiction, so I wanted to do something nonfiction, and I had already read 130 pages of this. So I picked it up and finished it, and I gave this book a 5 stars. Now listen, I know that this book was probably ghostwritten, and by probably I mean most definitely, but I really enjoyed learning about his life. I don't know, I am Team Harry and Meghan, please don't come at me for that. I think it was really interesting to learn about his perspective on what it's like to be a royal, as somebody who, I mean, from this book is seemingly pretty normal. So that was really interesting to me because growing up I always thought, oh, being royal is so crazy and different and like they're so special and whatever. But like just learning the like normal things that he does in his everyday life that we do, it kind of brings him back down to earth for me, which I really appreciated. And I also really appreciated reading about his military service because I honestly had no idea like how long he was in the military and the things that he did. So I thought that was kind of cool to learn about. But I don't know, I just really enjoyed this book. I read it really quickly and I really liked his method of storytelling, or his ghostwriters, and I just love how much love he has for his wife, and I feel like that really came through in the final like section of this book. So I don't know, I gave this 5 stars. I might be being generous with that, but I enjoyed it and I read it really quickly. So okay, so next I did pick up Sally Rooney's Beautiful World, Where Are You? But I unfortunately DNF'd this book because I could not connect to the characters. I did not even get that far into this book. I would say probably like maybe 50 or 60 pages, and I was not hooked at all. Like I still had no idea what we were reading about and was really confused. And normally I like Sally Rooney's style because it is a little, I don't know, it is a little like boring, I guess, because it's like normal. Like it's about normal people in their lives. But I just felt like I was not connecting to any of the characters when I was already like 60, maybe even 70 pages in, I don't remember, but I wasn't connecting to any of the characters. I did not want to really pick up the book. Like I didn't feel like the urge to pick up the book, and I don't know, I just wasn't loving it. I might go back and try and read it again because maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it, but I did unfortunately DNF this book. I love Sally Rooney, but I don't know, the first 70 pages of this were not really hooking me. and I didn't want to force myself to read it. So I might pick this up again later and try and read it, but for now, it's on my DNF bookshelf on Goodreads. Next, I read Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. Guys, this book is a 5 stars. I loved this book. This might be my favorite romance book I've ever read, and that is saying something because I have read quite a few. And you guys know that I love Emily Henry, and I've rated almost every single one of her books 5 stars. This book I like better than all of them. Like, I hate to say that, but this is like my cup of tea. My favorite romance trope is childhood friends to lovers, and a close second is second chance romance, and this has both of that. I ate it up so quickly. I read this in literally like 2 days. I read the first like 100 pages one day, and then I was like, oh, like I guess I'll read another 100 pages, and then the next day I finished it. Like, I read the next like 300 pages in a couple hours. I was like, I need to finish this. It's so good. This is about a girl named Macy who, her and her dad own a like, I guess like kind of like a summer like lake house of some sort, like a vacation house next to this guy named Elliot, and they're like the same age, but she only is at the house sometimes because she doesn't live there like full time. It's just their vacation house. But like over the summers and when she comes on the weekends, they grow really close through like reading, and they bond over a lot of things. And eventually they like fall in love when they're younger and whatever, but then something happens and then they don't talk for like 10 years. And so then they run into each other at a coffee shop and everything kind of unravels. This is top tier romance. I'm obsessed. If you haven't read this yet, please get your hands on this. It's so good. And the hype is not unwarranted on this book. Like, this book is worth all of the raving reviews. And I was a little skeptical because I felt like maybe this was going to be a little too juvenile. I wasn't going to really connect with the characters. No, I loved this book through and through. I would read this again, and I probably will soon because I'm obsessed with it. After that, I did read Every Summer After by Carly Fortune, and I will say this book is incredibly similar to Love and Other Words. Like, a lot of the tropes are almost identical, and the way that she sets them up is almost identical, which I kind of found maybe a little problematic because it was almost too similar to Love and Other Words, where I was like, is this like plagiarism? I mean, it was different in a few ways, like that were pretty distinct, but basically the same exact tropes: childhood friends to lovers, second chance romance. I really enjoyed it because it was so similar to Love and Other Words. But in terms of like originality, I don't think it was that original because it did come out after Love and Other Words, and it was so similar. I don't even remember what I rated this. I might have rated this like a 4 stars. I'm gonna check real quick. Yeah, I did end up rating this a 4 stars because, like I said, I really enjoyed it, and I think the reason I enjoyed it so much is because I enjoyed Love and Other Words so much, and it's so similar to that. But my problem with it is that it is too similar to Love and Other Words, in my opinion. So yeah, I gave this 4 stars, but it's basically the same book. After that, I read Happy Place by Emily Henry, and I gave this book a 5 stars. I really loved this book, and I feel like I especially loved this book because I felt like I was very similar to the main character in the way that I like thought and feel, and just like her family dynamic, I felt like I could relate to that a little bit. And also, like, her relationship with the main love interest, I feel like is so similar to me and my boyfriend, because like he comes from a very like energetic family, and I come from a more like mellow, like down to earth family. So it's very reminiscent of my own life, and I appreciated that a lot in this book. I really liked the found family aspect of this book too. I feel like I am always like feeling like my friends are my found family and that I'm really close to them. And so this book really hit on that too, and had a huge friendship element to it, which I really appreciated. This book has a lot of tropes that I love. So it has second chance romance and forced proximity, which I love those. And I feel like Emily Henry really outdid herself with this one. This one might be my new favorite. I don't know if it really competes with Beach Read. I don't know. I feel like they're equal, but also in my mind, I'm like, nothing can beat Beach Read. So I just don't know, but all I know is that this book was amazing and it was a 5-star read, and I would recommend it to anybody. Guys, the last book that I read was my favorite, and it might be my favorite of all time so far, and that's like saying something. I've read a lot of books, and I also give a lot of books 5 stars. I try not to like be so like easygoing with books because I don't want to just give out 5 stars if they don't deserve it. But a lot of the books that I read this month were extremely good, and all I want to say is that if I could give this book 6 out of 5 stars, I would. If I could give this book 10 out of 5 stars, I would. And that book is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This book has been all over TikTok. Everybody has been talking about this book. It's all over BookTube, it's all over BookTok, it's everywhere. And I searched high and low for this book because it is sold out everywhere around me. And I really wanted to get it because of the pages. The first print run of this book is the only print run that they're gonna have the sprayed pages with the like black color and the dragons on the side. And so I was not about to wait until the second print run because it was selling out so quickly. And I drove 30 minutes to get this book from a local like independent bookstore because it was like the only place that I could find somewhat near me that had the book in stock. And it was worth everything. I loved this book. This might be, like I said, the best book I've ever read. I'm obsessed with it. It's giving very much Divergent with dragons. And I heard somebody say that it's giving Divergent with dragons, but in like a Harry Potter like setting. And I 100% agree with that. Also, I loved the romance in this book. A lot of people are saying it fell flat for them, but for me, no, I loved it. It's very much like enemies to lovers kind of, but there is a strong subplot of romance in this book that I ate it up. I was so obsessed with them, and I love the main love interest in this book. Chef's kiss. He is everything and more. Yeah, I give this book 5 stars, obviously. And did I pre-order Iron Flame, which is the next book coming out in November already? The answer to that question is yes. And this might be my new favorite book series ever. So Rebecca Yarros really outdid herself with this one, and also the amount of representation that was in this book was actually insane. There were people with Ehlers-Danlos, is that what it's called? There were non-binary people represented in this book. There was bisexuality. Anything you can imagine, there was representation in this book, and I really appreciated that. So yeah, this was just an outstanding book, an amazing book from start to finish. It was very long, which I appreciated. And okay, I'm not saying like this is like the longest book ever, but it's like almost 500 pages, and I read this so quickly. And I also appreciate it because there's quite a few like words on each page. So it did take me a while to get through, but I wasn't even upset about that because I didn't want it to end, if that makes sense. I'm really upset that I have to wait till November for the next book, but I cannot stop thinking about this book. Like, it has been on my mind every single day since I finished it. I'm thoroughly obsessed with this book. I even created like a playlist of songs that I thought like went with the book because I'm obsessed. I read a total of 8 books, including Harry Potter, which is on my Kindle. Now moving on to the books that I want to read in June. The first book I want to read is the book that I'm currently reading, Flawless by Elsie Silver. This is book 1 of the Chestnut Springs series, which is a cowboy romance book series. I am almost 70 pages into this book so far, and I'm really enjoying it. It's very engaging. I'm really liking the dynamic going on so far. And yeah, I'm reading this on my Kindle and also in book format, so I keep going back and forth because Flawless is free on Amazon Prime Reading right now. I have been bringing my Kindle with me and reading it on the go. But yeah, this is the first book that I want to read, and I feel like I just need a lighthearted romance after reading Fourth Wing. So yeah, this is the first book I'm going to read in June. Also this month, I want to read A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime by Monica Murphy. I know that there's another book that's technically book 1 in this series. I don't know what this series is called. Okay, so this is technically book 2 in the Lancaster Prep series, but if I'm not mistaken, they're like standalones and you can read them out of order. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. Let me know in the comments if you're not supposed to do that, but from my understanding, it's okay to read them as standalones. But yeah, I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. A lot of people really like it. A lot of people don't really like it that much. So I just kind of want to read it. It's a very heavy book, but it doesn't have like too many pages or too many words on a page. So I don't think it'll be that hard to get through. And I'm loving the like flop of this book. It's very like floppy and malleable, which I really like in a book. So yeah, I am planning to read this book this month. Do I know what it's about? No. Next, I'm going to read Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This is a pretty big fantasy series that's going around right now. A lot of people are really enjoying this. I talked about this in my last video, which was a book haul and book reorganization, but this is basically like a vampire Hunger Games-esque book. So I think that I'm gonna really enjoy this book, and I know that there is another book out called The Ashes and the Star-Crossed King? Something like that. Yeah, also, I'm obsessed with this cover, so I am really hoping that this book is as good as the cover. Next, I'm hoping to get to Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings this month. I read Magnolia Parks back in April, and I want to read Daisy Hates soon. That way I'm not like falling behind on the series and kind of forgetting about it and what happened in it. So I definitely want to read this book this month, and then hopefully I will purchase the second Magnolia Parks book this month and maybe read that next month. This is a gang romance, low-key, and it's about two of the characters. Well, I guess it's about three of the characters that were in the Magnolia Parks books, Daisy, Christian, and Julian. So I've heard a lot of people like the Daisy Hates story better than the Magnolia Parks story. So I know that I'm probably gonna enjoy this, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. So I'm hoping to get to this month. Obviously, I'm going to read the second book of the Harry Potter series, which is The Chamber of Secrets, and I'm gonna read that on my Kindle this month. So I don't really think I need to explain what that one's about because it's such a popular series, but that is going to be on my June TBR as well. Also on my June TBR, I have Shatter Me by Tara Mafi. I did read this book already back in, I think it was probably early high school or like the end of middle school, and I really enjoyed it. So I did actually sell I had like almost all of the books in the series. I sold them all to Half Price Books because, as I've mentioned in a few videos, in the middle of college, I kind of just decided I was probably never gonna get into reading again, but I was wrong. So I actually ended up selling like most of my books, and now I regret it because I have to buy back a lot of them. But I did rebuy this book because a lot of people are obsessed with this series, and I know that I really enjoyed the first book when I did read it. So hopefully I will read the series in its entirety. Maybe by the end of the year or just maybe soon. Yeah, and this shouldn't be like too hard to read. There's not a ton of pages and it's not very long. Yeah, I am hoping to get to this book this month. I think after all the like fantasy and the dystopian and the gang romance, I might need a just lighthearted romance. So I'm hoping to read It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This one I've heard a lot of people are obsessed with. I think they're also obsessed with her other book called Hook, Line, and Sinker. I think that's by her. But yeah, I've just heard amazing things about this. It's giving me like very much like small town cozy romance vibes. So hopefully this will be a nice change of pace after reading fantasy dystopian and a gang romance. Next, I want to read Alice Feeney's Rock, Paper, Scissors. This is a thriller. I have no idea what it's about, but I know that a lot of people rave about Alice Feeney and her thrillers because apparently the like plot twists in them are really good and you don't see them coming. So I'm hoping to pick this up just because it has really good reviews, and I really want to read a thriller since I did not read the one that I thought I was going to read last month. I just wasn't in the mood for that, so hopefully I'll be in the mood for this and get to this in June. The last book that I have on my TBR is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a series. I know that there are at least two more. There might be more, but there's Good Girl, Bad Blood, and As Good as Dead, which are the other books in the series. And this is like a murder mystery, like a YA murder mystery, and I'm really into true crime. Like if you know me in real life, I'm really into true crime. I love Crime Junkie and I love Kendall Rae here on YouTube. I'm obsessed with her channel. So I love murder mysteries, and I feel like this is going to be perfect for me. These are the books that I'm hoping to read in June. That is all that I have for you guys today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up, and I will talk to you in my next video very soon.